Hi, say hello to my audience.
Hey!
Hi, my name is Rachel, and today I want to talk to you all about abortion rights and overturning of Roe v. Wade. Over the years, there's been a great deal of progress with women's rights. Women have had to face a constant battle to fight for the same rights that men have had handed to them. Although over the centuries we've had many successes working toward equal rights, our government has created a major setback by undoing one of the constitutional rights we had as a virtual community of women, which was upheld for nearly half a century. Roe v. Wade is a Supreme Court ruling that recognizes our right to abortion, and it was overturned after 49 years, removing women's right to choose. As a woman directly affected by this issue, I've done a lot of research regarding this ruling and its effects, and today I plan to expand on that and show what effects it has on women everywhere. This was brought to the court's attention by Norma McCorvey, popularly known as Jane Roe. She sued Henry Wade, the local district attorney, on the grounds that the existing abortion regulations were unconstitutional. The Supreme Court disagreed with Roe's assertion of an absolute right to terminate pregnancy in any way or time, so they attempted to find a balance between a woman's right to privacy and regulating abortion. The court's ruling stipulated that an individual can opt for an abortion up until they reach the stage of a capability of meaningful life outside the mother's womb, which typically occurs between 24 to 28 weeks after conception. In September of 1976, things began to change with the passing of the Hyde Amendment. This amendment forbids the use of public funding for abortion services with the exception of rape, incest, and dire circumstances. This is an excellent illustration of the kinds of limitations that were put into place throughout the course of the following 50 years. Roe made it through its first initial major test. The court upheld the state's authority to enact limitations so long as they don't place an undue burden on the moms. Years later, in 2009, an example of the violent acts committed by anti-abortion protesters was the murder of abortion physician Dr. George Tiller at his church. He is a representation of the risks that abortion providers continue to face every day just to provide health care to their patients. Over the decade that followed, restrictions continued to extend across the U.S., but Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization was the catalyst for this case's eventual overturning. The Mississippi legislation that forbids abortions beyond 15 weeks was the subject of an appeal to the Supreme Court when the justices specifically requested that Roe be overturned. The justices were thereafter inspired to be receptive to doing so. June 24, 2022 marked the overturning of Roe v. Wade. This transferred women's entitlement to a decision to the state government, which means the matter would now be settled independently on a state-to-state basis. Now, as a consequence, women's rights have been tremendously limited. Although I said there are exceptions for abortion in the case of rape, incest, or life-threatening situations, that is not completely true for every state. The restrictions on abortion are specific to each state, which means that women cannot receive abortion care in most states. In Texas, there is a trigger law banning abortion, which was set in place after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, meaning if a girl got pregnant through the unfortunate case of rape or incest, she would be forced to carry her baby to term unless it was a risk to her life. What nobody stops to consider is how the strain on your mental health, being forced to carry a baby from the man that assaulted you, is also a risk, just a different kind of risk. Another big risk that is put on women is not the lack of access, it's the alternative methods of abortion that they attempt and end up unintentionally harming themselves. About 42 million women with unintended pregnancies choose abortion, and nearly half of these procedures, 20 million, are unsafe. Some 68,000 women die of unsafe abortions annually, making it one of the leading causes of maternal mortality, which is 13%. Because women become so desperate having no resources, they result in forms of unsafe abortions such as drinking toxic fluids, inflicting direct injury with a foreign body such as a chicken bone or a wire coat hanger. They also attempt external methods of injury too, such as jumping from the top of a staircase or roof, inflicting blunt trauma to the abdomen. We're facing a fight that has already been fought. With the overturn of Roe v. Wade came the reversal of all of the hard work that was put into passing and protecting Roe. Not always, but majority of the time, it is an older man that is making these decisions to revoke our rights. And it's not hard for them because it's not an issue for them because it's not directly affecting them. It's women who have to face the consequences of their poorly made decisions, especially because it's a wide range of men in these powerful positions making these decisions for us. This fight cannot be fought by women alone. There are other ways to prevent abortion that does not start with removing it as an option. It helps for women of all ages to be educated regarding their reproductive health, as well as having an increase of contraceptive services, which is a necessity. As devastating as this all is, I urge you to become a part of the people in our generation that continue to rebuild and continue the fight for women's right to decide. Thank you so much to my audience for listening. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. You mentioned the consequences the women face because of those government decisions. Can you tell me some of those consequences?
The consequences have included unintended pregnancy, limited or no access to the full array of reproductive health services, including abortion, impact on the reproductive health of poor women and women of color, and the impact on midlife women and their caregiving roles.
Which states have no abortion restrictions?
As of August 2023, abortion was fully legal in the following states with no gestational limits: Colorado, New Jersey, Oregon, Vermont, and the District of Columbia.
What is another example of a risk abortion providers face for providing their services?
These challenges come in many forms, from harassment and intimidation from doctors and clinics to legal restrictions that single out abortion providers, but their common goal is to prevent clinics from providing reproductive health services and women from exercising their right to obtain abortions. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed my speech.
We did.
Thanks.
Informative. Thank you.
Bye, guys.